Hey guys, it's Jenny here. Welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well. For this week's video, I wanted to start a new series, which is a screen cap redraw of Konan from Naruto Shippuden. The last one I posted on social media was a few years back. If you're interested in checking that out, you can hit up my art Instagram to visit my interpretation of Wicked Lady from Sailor Moon. I've tried working on a couple of redraws since that last post, but I've kind of put them on the back burner, so I wanted to kind of take it easy this week. I've made some changes to my art style since then, one of the biggest ones being I don't use black for my line art anymore. Instead, I will opt to use a burgundy or dark purple, maybe even a dark blue. I just feel like it makes the pieces look a little more interesting, and plus it's fun to play with color. Something I'm doing different for this illustration is I am messing around with the pen pressure and using varying weights for my line art. Since I am using a new brush pack, I wanted to toy around with this and see if I like it with my style a little bit more, and I feel like I do. The last redraw I was working on was of Pain, but didn't really like the way he was turning out. Maybe in the future I will tackle that redraw, but I wanted to try my hand at a different character, so decided to give my favorite character, one of my favorite characters from the series, a shot. I'd have to say Konan is my favorite female character from Shippuden. I don't feel like there are a lot of great female representation throughout both series. So the fact that Konan is not only a total badass, but like the only female Akatsuki member, I just think that's super cool. Her abilities are really unique too, and I think it just showcases how Konan can be both a very feminine character and also a threat and not one to mess with. I had to use a couple of references from real life, such as the rose hairpiece and the little hair bun she has. As much as I love roses, I think they're very beautiful, they're hard for me to draw. The hardest part for me is always starting off with the center of the rosebud, but once you get that established, it's a little bit easier to draw the petals surrounding it. I absolutely love when Konan is in the midst of transforming with all those pieces of paper, has like her ability and stuff. So I wanted to have a couple of them in the midst of returning back to her body. Like, I'm not even really sure how to describe it. Just wanted to look like it was peeling off of her a little bit. So right now, I have already established my values. Since I am coloring and rendering this piece entirely, I wanted to do something a little bit different that I normally don't do with my colored illustrations. I'm adding in my shadows on top of my values, and although adding values is an extra step that does take a little bit more time on top of a very lengthy process, because this piece took me about 24 hours to complete, which is such a long time, but a lot of that was because I didn't really lay down my colors and my values very neatly, so I had to do a lot of cleanup. Establishing my values first was a big help, and I think the more that I push myself to work on fully rendered illustrations, I will get a lot more confident with completing my pieces, and it won't take as long too. I'm adding some cross hatching right now. I believe in my video of Eli, I talked a little bit about how I want to incorporate cross hatching and cel shading. And as much as I like cel shading and I think it can work for certain subject matters, sometimes I think it can be a little bit too bold for my liking. So I blurred out some of the cel shading. I think it just kind of like softens up the illustration a little bit, adds a little bit of a semi-realism to my art style. This is where a little bit of the fun starts to really kick in for me, the coloring. So I tweaked the saturation, the hues for her skin tone. I do that several times throughout this process because I just couldn't get it looking very lifelike. I am messing with her hair color now, which is interesting. It's not too blue, but it's also not purple, somewhere in between. Adding in some details for her iris, which was a lot of fun messing with the brightness. Just made the piece come to life a little bit more. Giving some highlights to her Labret. I think it is really cool that she has a Labret piercing because personally, I think body modifications and tattoos are pretty underrepresented in the anime manga space, so the fact that she has a piercing as well as Yahiko is really dope, or Pain I should say. I guess looking at it from a logistics standpoint, it would be more of a pain in the ass to animate characters that have tattoos and piercings, but at the same time, there needs to be more of that. I think it is really cool when fictional characters have it because it's just another layer of self-expression, which is probably the reason why pretty much all my characters in my one-shot / series have tattoos and body mods. Alright, so we're adding in the highlights, which, oh man, it was definitely one of those moments where you really just had to trust the process. As I've mentioned many a times, I don't really render my pieces. I tend to work on a sketch, a line art, and I call it a day, but trying to challenge myself this year to step outside my comfort zone, work with more color, render a little bit. And it was hard trying to figure out how to get the highlights looking right, so I went on YouTube, looked at some videos, found this really helpful short. Oh my gosh, so thankful for it because her hair was just looking a little too flat, so wanted to bring a little bit of life to this. But yeah, this looks kind of crazy at first. But once you have that perspective blur going on, you mess around with the opacity, the blending mode, you can really see it starting to come together. And that was a super validating feeling for me. I also decided to add some highlights to the Akatsuki cloak, even though it is black. There is light that bounces off of it in the anime, so I wanted to just balance it out since she's got highlights on her face, even some contouring. Wanted to make sure that the cloak didn't look so flat in comparison. Konan is definitely one of the coolest Akatsuki members to me. Obviously, Itachi is a badass. He is the freaking GOAT. But I really think that Konan is, she's kind of slept on, just a bit. She's got unique abilities. She's one of the original Akatsuki members. And she's a pretty strong-ass female character, all things considered. I'm adding some details for the background right now, some of the scuff marks in the wall behind her. Went in with a brush to add some texture to the wall as well. We're at the tail end of the illustration and I just love how the vision is coming together full circle and it's really starting to look like a screen cap from the series if I was the one animating it, which at the rate that I work would take ages. So if you guys can tell in the screen cap reference I'm using, there are bits of the smoke, or I think it's smoke. Honestly, I can't remember what is in the background, but it's moving. There's a bit of a blur to it. So I wanted to recreate that for my redraw. Selected a couple areas of smoke to also blur out using the perspective blur tool in Procreate. Which is so cool because, again, it gives this screen cap the feel that it was paused in the middle of motion. Although this was pretty challenging because I don't work with a lot of color, and I'm still learning how to get more confident in shading and establishing my values took forever, I had a lot of fun with this Konan illustration, putting my own spin, presenting my interpretation of her in my style, and I hope you guys had a lot of fun watching the process and listening to my ramblings a bit. If you guys enjoyed, please feel free to support the channel in any way that you can. You can also follow me over on my art Instagram. It's the same handle as my YouTube channel. And I will see you guys again in the next video. Take care. Bye.